and with the idea that all of these lectures that we do, so then people can go on the internet and listen to the lectures 24/7, you know, and with a long-term goal of this being the setup eventually will be a university online, because we're not going to get it in the home, we're not getting it in the schools, you're not going to get in Chicano studies. So the idea is that that's kind of the great thing of what's happened with the internet. We can go on there and get the education. And that was the idea with all the series of lectures that we're doing, is to be able to put this on the internet so our people can get a clue, because most of us don't have a clue. What we're trying to do with all these lectures is to get our people to be aware of the importance of history, because history is what defines you as a human being. Right now we're being defined by the Europeans as to who we are, whose land this is, and everything else about what the reality is. And there's a lot of monstrous lies involved in how we live our lives. So that's kind of what we're working to correct, is to bring truth and get our people to understand that you have to demand justice, because justice is not given. It has to be demanded. We started with Neliolo, and he was talking about his personal experience on how he got the beginnings of knowledge and how he's been working on getting more and more knowledge. I calculated, I've been working on this for 47 years, how long I've been working, and I'm still working on learning more. This is kind of like the really sad thing is here, I'm 60 and 47 years I've been working to gain knowledge, and as I'm going to be presenting to you here, there is still a lot of material coming out every year, but most of our people aren't aware of all this knowledge that's out there. With myself, even if I could do it, you know, with all of the non-sleeping hours of the day, I mean, I couldn't really catch up with all of the knowledge that there is. And that's kind of what the turnoff is to a lot of people. Oh, well, what's the point of studying that history? What's the point of all of that? Yeah, well, who put that in our minds that what's the point? But you got no problem studying the Renaissance and studying the Bible and studying the names of all the football players or the basketball players and studying what show is going to be on at what time, or there's a whole bunch of things that we're studying all the time. None of it has anything to do with who we are. None of it really benefits us. It basically benefits white supremacy, colonialism, the enslavement in which we're in. Silali was talking about the distortions of women's roles. Yeah, one of the major liberations that's happened is what's been happening with women. Obviously, it's not over. This is a struggle that's still going on. And she was talking about how our women were getting caught up in the white women's movement. And there were some positive things about that. But the reality was that as the African descent women found out, even with the white women who are progressive, there's a lot of built-in white supremacy in the attitudes, in the history of white women. If you know the women's movement in the 1800s, one of the major things that came about were African women who had been slaves, were they going to be allowed to be part of this women's movement? And the answer was no way. They were not going to be allowed. So right off the bat, there was racism in that. There was racism in the founding of this nation, from the point of Columbus to the point of the Pilgrims to the point of independence. So there's a whole issue of white supremacy that we're not fully conscious of. The fact that I'm speaking to you in the English language, or les puedo estar hablando en español, that's part of colonialism. Carlos was talking about this whole missions thing. And I was mentioning to him about this new book that I saw, and it's about the missions. And you open up the book, and the very first thing it shows the martyrdom of this one Franciscan priest. the missions, martyrdom, not, hey, the missions, genocide of our people, enslavement of our people, the rape of our people, the theft of our resources, the continuation of this colonialism. None of that is actually in this book. But it does talk about this martyrdom. It talks about the nice things they did for us. And one of the ugliest things, besides how it starts, is and if our people became baptized, they would be given a land grant. We'd be given our own land back in a smaller chunk. And this is kind of what the white kids are being taught, and what our own kids are being taught. So you have a lot of distortion going on about how history and reality are presented. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to start out with a piece that I wrote kind of to explain a little bit of what is the problem behind a lot of that lack of knowledge of history, or the distorted history that we know. And then afterwards, I'm going to talk about several of the new books that have come out actually in the last year. This is called Living for the White Race. We are today living a monstrous lie, a white lie, the lie of the white race. We are in disgrace as slaves of the white race, the Europeans. We live our lives in ignorance, without truth, without honor, without justice. We have been taught to falsely call a man named Jesus the creator of the universe. We have been falsely taught that we do not own our own lands or the wealth of our lands. We have been falsely taught that cowardice is a virtue, that treason to our people is a virtue. We have been taught many lies, and to accept injustice, to accept dishonor, to accept disgrace. We have been robbed of our dignity as human beings. We have been robbed of our land and its wealth. This cannot be said too many times. We have been robbed of our dignity as human beings. We have been robbed of our land and all of its wealth. We have been robbed of our history and our honor. We have been robbed of our warriors, the defenders of our people. We have been robbed of our reality, our connection to our Creator. We have had 95% of our people killed by Europeans. We have had 70 to 100 million of our people killed throughout this continent. And it doesn't mean anything to white people. But what is worse than that is that this genocide, this killing of 70 to 100 million of our people, it doesn't mean anything to our own people. Amongst us today, there is not one semblance of warriors, real warriors, warriors that defend our people as a life dedication, as a way of living, as a way of honor, as a way of dying, as a way of freedom. Amongst us, cowardice is popular, and we laugh at cowardice even when we see it in the mirror. We sing songs of treason and songs of selfishness and songs of the coward. Cowards are our heroes. Traitors are our role models. Selfishness and greed are our ideals. And no one yells at us, cowards, traitors, fake white people. No one dares. Then there are the New Age danzantes, the concheros, the matachines that use our heritage to make fools and clowns of our people. They make sacrilege out of the rituals and ceremonies of our ancestors. At the powwows and sun dances, it's all for show, all for money. There are no warriors there. We have no warriors anywhere. Or else they would be fighting for our freedom, educating us, liberating us.